everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Highly Disputed. I'm your host, Mutant Encounter, and I'm here with our two regular panelists, Kinderspiel and Monochrome94.
Hi, this is Monochrome94, sometimes referred to as Toxichrome, by the more adventurous members of our community.
Yes, and I am Kinder here, joining along with my co-host for the day.
All right. Well, the big news, of course, in League of Legends community as a whole is the teaser and announcement information about the new champion, Lillia. So, of course, we couldn't conduct this episode without digging into that a little bit. Our panelists are going to give us their initial impressions based on what they've seen so far. So, Mono, go first. What do you think?
I hate her, 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 and I hate her a little bit more. Alright, so first off, I hate the concept of true damage. I don't think it belongs in the game. I also hate the concept of sleep. It is unfun. It's just annoying. She has an infinite range ability that isn't an ultimate. I don't like that. She has a global ultimate that affects everything that she has her little dumb powder on. I don't like that. She looks like, from what we've seen, that she wants to build tank, but she doesn't look like a tank. Hell, she looks like a support, and she's not a support. So, aesthetically, she doesn't make sense to me. Kit-wise, I don't like her. Her abilities make sense, but it just doesn't match what you expect. It doesn't do what I want it to do, and it's going to be super annoying to play against. It's Nico 2.0, and I don't like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think the whole, I don't know if you'd say memes, just general vibe of this champion being basically identical to Nico in appearance, except for obviously that she's, Centaur or whatever the technical term would be, is pretty funny. I don't really know. I don't honestly understand like the idea Riot had of putting this champion out. I do like it. I'll say I like it personally. It just seems so weird to put out a champion that looks literally like identical from like the waist up to Nico. But aside from that, I actually am pretty intrigued by Lillia. A lot of the talk that I've been seeing is what kind of lane she's going to be in, whether she's going to be a jungler, which is obviously what Riot is intending. That's what they've said. But a lot of people saying, every time Riot puts out a jungler, they end up being played in lanes or whatever and whatnot. But personally, I feel like there's no reason why Lillia is not going to be a jungler. She might not be played in the lanes a little bit, but we will just have to see. But the real reason behind that is really her ultimate, and which is so intriguing to me. The whole like AoE group sleep thing. Once she gets 6 in the jungle, she's going to have such effective ganks that I don't really see how it's not going to be at least on par with champions like Nocturne or Evelynn that they power farm to level 6 and then start ganking lanes. But we'll just have to see. Again, you were talking about the true damage a little bit. Obviously, the numbers just matter so much there. How much true damage are we talking? And stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued with the Lillia for sure.
All right, real quick counterpoint to that. I think she's going to be incredibly predictable in her ganks.
Really?
Yeah, so like her Q, the Blooming Blows thing, right? So whatever, it's a big, AoE circular attack. The props are stupid passive that puts a dot on everything, whatever. But the main thing here is gains stacking movement speed whenever she hits a target with a skill. So basically, she's going to gank off of scuttles. She's going to follow the skull around, smack it with abilities, ramping up her movement speed, and use that to go in for her gank. And I think that's going to lead to incredibly predictable ganks once you have a timer on Scuttle. Alright, well, Scuttle's up. She's probably going to come on this side because, bot side Scuttle's alive and top side Scuttle's dead.
I actually did not know that the movement speed on the Q was stacking. That's a little interesting of an interaction. So definitely an interesting point there. The other thing noteworthy, I feel like, is the endless range on the E. So really, I've seen a lot of different. I had lots of different thoughts on this. Like you could just from lane, or like right before you're about to recall, throw like an E from top lane all the way down river to bot and have it show up. They have no idea where you are, or stuff like that, and then reset. As well as soon as you're back in base, throw an E down towards bot lane, so it looks like you might be coming in for a lane gank, but really you pad all the way topside. And obviously, they're really just gonna have absolutely no idea where you are and stuff like that. So I feel like that's another side to her as well. Like, may not be quite as predictable. You say, all right, you may want to just gank around the scuttle crabs, but she's not gonna have to do that as well. Especially once she hits 6. Like I said, the gank's just gonna be so effective that's really not gonna matter. I feel like.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Take Predator on her. And
Predator Lillia.
I mean, seriously, you land an ability, you pop ult, you're probably going to have a successful gank. If there's a Lillia on the enemy team and you're a carry, take Cleanse. That's basically all I've got for this.
So speaking of teams, when it comes to like playing in a team setting, like in the ALS, what do you think are going to be the considerations for like placing her on your team and then for playing under her?
Monty,
I vote we just
again? Yeah.
All right, I'm going to start here. I vote we just global ban her. I don't want to see this in game.
Global banner? You mean have the ALS as banner?
Yeah, just
sure.
This is not what I'm going to enjoy at all.
Oh, come on, don't be such a pessimist. It's just gonna be fun.
And I like the distinct feeling. No. I'm gonna call it. No. I don't want it.
Well, I think, like, I don't know. Her ultimate, again, we talk a lot about her, like, just reaching 6 ultimate as far as, like, gank strength and stuff. I'm not really sure. It's hard to predict how effective she'll be later on. Obviously, if she gets a big ult, like, obviously a super strong, like, team fighting ultimate, just in general, could be lots of potentials with wombo combos and stuff like that if you get these massive AoE sleeps on multiple members. But I feel like my concern is if it's just a little bit too hard to play around or just to like not deal with, because you see champions, it's kind of like an Alawi. You really just can't 5v5 an Alawi. It's not something you're trying to do. You know what I mean? She's got ultimate up. You really just have to stay away from those clustered up team fights, and it's gonna end up being the same kind of thing. I feel like with Lillia, if he's kind of gonna be very trepidatious around this champion, especially as you move on into the later stages of the game. So I feel like definitely has lots of potential as a team fighting threat for sure.
Yeah, definitely like build her bruiser, and you probably don't need to like focus on your damage too much. You're just gonna play with your CC.
Are there any like champions that you can think of like an interesting interaction, like for Silas on the opposing team? Does that kind of devalue his like, is her ult going to be useful to him?
Interesting. Well, there's a lot of interesting Silas interactions, and that's one of the funny things about that champion is I would imagine just learning all those different things. I'm not sure. I know there's like interesting ones like Orianna, where I believe it just ults onto him. I'm not sure how it works. Again, I'm not sure. That obviously would make it useful in some way, you would imagine. Some way of getting sleep onto somebody, but we'll have to see. I would think. I don't know. It's an interesting point, honestly.
Yeah, no clue here. I think with like the champs that proc off a CC, like Swain, her ult or her sleep could be like super impressive. Yeah, past that, I don't see any like super obscene interactions that I could think of off the top of my head.
I like the Silas one though, for sure. That's interesting. We'll have to see how that works out. What Riot decides to do.
It's Riot Games. They'll probably forget.
True.
Quick addendum to Lillia. I still hate her.
What, your thoughts didn't get changed?
No, they did not get changed. I just want to make sure that everyone is well aware that Toxichrome hates this champion.
All right, so to make Monochrome happy, we're going to change the subject completely and talk about another thing that we've been talking about around the ALS headquarters, which is in a team play situation like the ALS, you've got the 5-man teams. Often a player will be asked to play outside their preferred play style to conform to either the meta overall or the team comp the team is going for. So I'll ask you two, and we'll start with Kinder. What goes into making that decision? Like, when does a player need to conform to the team comp, conform to the meta? And when is it good for the team to let the player have more free reign on like their comfort pick or their comfort style?
Well, as far as the meta goes, you definitely want to, if it's in the player's champion pool to play champions that are more effective and more in the meta at the time, it's definitely beneficial to do so. I would say you don't want to put players on meta picks if they are not comfortable doing that, because it's not going to be worth the benefit that you get out of doing it. Like, you play the meta champions because it's the most effective thing to be playing in any given in most given situations. But if they're not going to be as effective playing that, then there's no reason putting them on that. You might as well have them playing something that they're more comfortable on. As far as the whole putting a player on someone they're comfortable on versus more specifically just like a better champion for the team comp as a whole, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that no matter, it doesn't really matter what the person wants to pick, just make sure you're drafting a solid comp as a whole. Like, if someone wants to play more of carry junglers or carry laners, carry top laners, that's fine. Just make sure you draft a comp around that makes sense and has a plan, and then make sure your team knows what that plan is to execute. I want to take a look at a couple of different examples. First of all, look at Iron Dragon, who has a 6-3 record right now. I want to specifically look at Ancient Mommy because he's played, out of the 5 games that they've played and won since they had 1 FF, so they're 5 victories. Ancient Mommy's played Trundle in the jungle 3 times and won 3 games. Has 1-0 on Zac and 1 win on Olaf. So their 5 wins are not on these like super hard carry junglers. We saw Ancient Mommy more often than not on Elise and J4 type champions back in season 1. That's where he's like the most comfortable. I know as personally that's where he's most comfortable playing champions. But he's 5-0 on these other champions. Or not, excuse me, they do have 1 loss at Olaf, but all 5 of their victories from Iron Dragon have been not on his most personalized champions. He can still play champions like Trundle. Obviously, they're 5-0 on them. My point here is that it's interesting still to note that the 2 losses that they had were when he was playing both Elise and J4. But also to take a look at the next team would be Julia Duck, and we've seen Vitalize play almost solely carry champs. He's played Evelynn, Kindred, Graves, Lee Sin, Rengar. Also, Yias up in the top lane playing these carry champions, Aatrox and Darius. Really just, I know we've been a little hard on them in the past of not playing as like a complete unit, but ultimately they're 5-3 right now. But their 3 losses are to only Iron Dragon and NG Blossom. And obviously, like, those are the top 2 teams in the league right now. So I don't know. I feel like ultimately we've been a little bit too hard on Julia Duck, as their losses have really only been to the top teams in the league, despite them playing this sort of like solo carry style. So those are the two differences there is that Iron Dragon's been having Ancient Mommy winning while he's been playing these sort of like team-oriented junglers and champions. And then Julia Duck has been winning most of their games in complete opposite direction. And I feel like it really just comes down to the fact of whether or not you're going to draft a comp around a team, or draft a comp with like a plan. That's like the most important thing, is having a plan behind what you're doing. And the perfect example of that would be NG Blossom, right? Because they're 9-0. And every single time they drafted a comp, they really just have a plan behind it. A specific situation that pops into my mind is the Ezreal Yuumi comps they've done with the support style Trundle in the jungle. That's just one specific situation, but every single comp that they put together has just you can tell they have a plan behind it, and they have like they know their win conditions. And I feel like it really doesn't matter whether you let your players play these solo carry style champions or the support bruiser top laners or junglers. As long as you have a comp that makes sense, works well together, and you guys have a plan to execute it.
Somewhat agree. I don't think Iron Dragon is a particularly good example for this argument. Aunt Your Mommy has had more success on these support, tanky, late game. I'm not the driving force of this team, junglers. However, I feel like that's kind of a skewed point because the games or those champions deliberately draw out the game, and his bot laners kind of like to play these hard scaling champions. I feel like he would actually fix Iron Dragon's current problem of not having an early game or realizing that the game starts before 10 minutes on these faster, more aggressive, high skill, less tanky early game junglers that he likes to play. We've seen him play Rek'Sai to a great skill level. We've seen him play Elise in a monstrous manner. He's only played it once so far this league. And he took a loss. Alright, that sucks. But it wasn't like against an easy team either. He's only taken J4 once this thing, and he also lost that game. But once again, to a hard team. These Trundle games, the Zac game, and to the extent the one Olaf, I feel like Olaf kind of falls in between both categories here. He has late game potential, and he has early game potential, as long as he doesn't get killed in his own jungle level 2. I feel like there is a very strong argument for junglers like Aunt Your Mommy to play these more aggressive earlier, jungle champions to start snowballing his team or to start making his team do something in the early game, because that's their weakest point. Always has been, and it just seems like it always will be unless something changes. That, or they just need to decide that, we're not going to play an early game at all, play super safe, and play nothing but scaling champions and stay under their own towers. But that's not good League of Legends, so we need to see something shift out of there. And I feel like maybe Ain't Your Mommy going to one of his pocket picks would be a solid idea. Now, on to other teams, because we always harp about Iron Dragon. I love them. I still have a very, very soft place in my heart for them. But, there's other teams in this league. So, on to them. Let's look at the top lane of Trigger Happy. That guy is 1 and 2 on Aatrox. The one Aatrox game he won, he looked massive on that game, but he's also lost twice on it. He's 1 and 1 on Shin, and so he did quite good on that. His Vladimir's 1 for 1. That guy, one of our more flamboyant players. He tends to play better when he's playing these team-oriented things. And I feel like him playing a team-oriented top lane is better for his team. Mind you, this isn't the LCS. This isn't the LEC. This isn't any kind of high-end pro play. Our players range from silvers to, I think we have a challenger. We may have a challenger. The people on Julia Duck kind of confuse me sometimes.
All right, 30 seconds.
But anywho, so sometimes being on a champion that you are super familiar with and just know the mechanics on, I think is more important than picking the perfect balanced team. Because your players can't shine if they're not given room to buff themselves.
I mean, I definitely there's definitely so much truth to that, and I will agree 100%. But the next step to that is definitely, I'll go back to again what I was saying. I feel like let them play what they're gonna play, but have some sort of plan. Ultimately, try to draft a comp with a solid comp with the champions people can play. And that's really the X factor there.
No, you are 100% right. And Iron Dragon's comps could still work with Ain't Your Mommy on a Poppy, style jungler, or if that guy really wants to play something more carry heavy, focus more ganks top lane, but you have to have a plan. You don't have the plan, nothing's going to work anyway. We're dealing with a level of play that is above, solo queue, but below super, proper pro play. And so communication and planning is still super key. But, if Ain't Your Mommy wants to play a flashier jungle, stick him on a flashier jungle, let him gank bot. Let him get that scaling bot lane jump started. If that guy wants to play a flashier top laner, start pushing more ganks to him. Don't let him fall behind. If who was it? My other reference. There was one other one that I really want to look at. If Angeloid gets banned out sometimes. If Angeloid gets pushed off of a comfort pick, all right, now you have to take an audible, put her on something that's good for the team, and then make sure it's supported. I get it, she's a support, but sometimes you have to support the support. Send some pressure down bot lane. Make sure that they're not getting bullied. Have a plan and execute on it.
I want to touch on the Ancient Mommy situation one more time, but real quick before we do that, just want to completely conclude, at least my opinion. I believe you're pretty much in line with this. The opinion of the drafting comps we've seen. Just remember the one game when that NG Blossom had the Trundle Ezreal Yumi comp against Iron Dragon, and that game was honestly super good for so long. But Iron Dragon, which just had absolutely no possible chance to win that game, just because of Ezreal was absolutely unkillable, and there's just no way you could ever kill him. And really just got outcomped. So it just really goes to show the importance of that. Lastly, to touch on the Ancient Mommy situation, I've got to disagree with you on this one. While I do think he could have some benefit from getting back onto his J4 and at least more, I wouldn't ever pick anybody for a comp around Iron Dragon. Let me rephrase that. I would always lock in Trundle for Ancient Mommy right now, unless it's banned off. And we've been seeing it banned off a little bit recently. But again, he's 3-0 on that champ, and he can have impact on his lanes with Trundle ganks. Coming in there with the pillar, pretty effective ganks. Not the most effective, but pretty solid. And again, building that support style build, getting Knights of Vow, playing support around I'm Candy and Lai Jialu. I feel like it's a great pick for their team as a whole and the way they're kind of structured. So unless Trundle gets banned off of him, I don't see any reason not to draft a comp around that.
I disagree. But
record would disagree with you, my good man. The 3-0. We'll see. We'll see what they try to do moving forward here into week 6, I guess.
Yes, we'll see what the future holds. But our immediate future holds the lightning round.
Ooh.
Great. I like to be proven right. Give me some lightning round questions.
All right. We've addressed this tangentially, but I want us to look at it head on. Sleep as a mechanic in the game, yay or nay?
Nay.
Well, I was almost sure you were going to say that. I honestly haven't thought about it too much. The one thing that obviously jumps into my mind, as I'm sure literally everybody else's, is when you get hit by Zoe's bubble. It is the most aggravating thing ever. But I don't know if that's objectively more aggravating than getting hit by, say, a Dark Binding. It might be. All I know is I hate getting hit by a Sleep Bubble, so I'm going to say nay.
It's 100% worse than a Dark Binding. Dark Binding is a bind.
I don't know.
It's literally 100% worse. Dark Binding is a bind. You can still auto-attack. It is a fancy name for a delayed stun, and that is all it is.
I don't know. I feel like it's obviously super obnoxious, but is it objectively worse? Maybe a little bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, because you can't auto-attack.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not going to even pretend to say I'm a fan, but I don't know. I definitely hate it.
I just want to know why we have to have a fancy name for a stun.
I agree with it. It's because you get the bonus damage coming out of it. That's basically the difference. I don't know. And the slow before it actually comes off. I don't know. It's weird.
But
it's a
Zoe's sleep thing only gets bonus damage for her. This one gives it to all attacks. So, I don't understand. There's not continuity here.
I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely weird. And if I'm picking yay or nay, definitely nay. I don't like it.
Next.
All right. Next, looking ahead to week 6, I was trying to pick a couple marquee matchups for us to look at. The first game tomorrow, actually at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, is Iron Dragon versus Glacial Rising Phoenix. They haven't played since early on in the split here. And Iron Dragon is obviously trying to hold on to their position there in second place, and they've been struggling a little bit with that in recent weeks. And then Glacial Rising Phoenix is kind of trying to come and break away from that pack in the middle. They've had a good couple of weeks. So between those two, what do you guys think?
I definitely have had my eye on this. With the whole mid-split break, I've kind of forgotten about it a little bit, but definitely a super exciting game. I don't know. Are we just doing predictions? What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, give me a prediction.
This is going to be a really good game, honestly. But if I had to pick one right now, I'm going to go with ID. It's hard to bet against the OG ALS Season 1 champs. With that being said, though, Glacial Rising is definitely a super strong team. So it's definitely going to be a great game. But I got to go with the OG boys, Iron Dragon.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you. As much as that actually gives me pain, I think Iron Dragon has it.
We need like a sound effect when you agree, like some kind of buzzer or alarm.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win, and I don't know if we're gonna see Ancient Mommy on Trundle, but I hope we do. That's all I'm gonna say.
I really hope he's on Rek'Sai. That's all I...
Rek'Sai, true.
They found something to disagree about. That's good. Yeah. All right. And then the second one, our Sunday marquee matchup. The second game, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, is Huge Minion Difference versus Trigger Happy. Their previous match was a 40-minute game. It was one of the longest ones we've had so far. And I think it's a little bit of a grudge match from some of the OG participants in the ALS. So, Huge Minion Difference, Trigger Happy.
Mon, I'm gonna let you take this one first.
So this really depends on how much that guy ends. But I think if if Minipod or Ishan, whoever's jungling that day, I think it'll probably be Ishan. Keep him.
We'll see. If Seve's been gone, but if he's back, it'll probably be Sev.
But as long as the jungler doesn't let him get too far behind, and if that guy doesn't play Aatrox, I think that's another big caveat. I think that Trigger Happy should get this. It's going to be a probably massively long, drawn-out game, and it's probably going to come down to a single misplay towards the end. Let's be entirely honest. But I'm going to call this the favorite Trigger Happy.
All right. Well, I'm going to agree with you. I do think it's going to be Trigger Happy, but first of all, before I pick my prediction, I think you're being a little harsh on that guy with the Aatrox with the small sample size. I haven't looked at the games. I don't know who the losses were to, but that aside, H&B is definitely the dark horse team. They're very strong, able to upset any team. We see them upset Iron Dragon, so definitely capable of winning, I believe, against any team, including Edgy Blossom. But Trigger Happy, in my opinion, is overall the stronger team, especially for getting Sav back, and I think they're probably gonna take this one down. So we're in agreement again. Wow.
Agreement buzzer. All right. Well, that will do it for this episode 3 of Highly Disputed. And we look forward to seeing everyone on the Rift at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, July 12th for week 6. Saturday, July 11th for week 6.
See you guys then.
See ya.